Have you ever looked in the mirror and realized, you're no longer yourself? I once lived like a shadow, controlled, dictated, belittled. Until one day, when he whispered the cruelest words into my ear, and I suddenly awoke. From that moment on, I began a journey to reclaim the right to my own life, to rediscover who I truly am, and even to find a love that I deserve. This is my story. Chapter 1. Awakening in a Stranger's Body. When I opened my eyes, the phone right beside me was vibrating nonstop. A flood of messages filled the screen. If you're not dead yet, then hurry and apologize. As long as you humble yourself, I'll forgive you. I won't even think about breaking up. I froze. Apologize for what? Before I could even react, a voice echoed in my head, cold yet fluent, as if every word had been rehearsed. Do not panic. The original owner of this body left after fulfilling 100 inhumane demands from the so-called male lead. Her mission ended, and she returned to her world to save her lover. As for me, I brought you here to take her place. My mind went blank, transmigrated into a foreign world, inheriting the body of another woman, bound to a deranged man. I clutched my head, almost laughing in suffocated disbelief. All I ever prayed for was a good man. Why would you throw me into the arms of a lunatic? The voice continued calmly. Don't despair so quickly. I won't force you to continue entangling yourself with him. There's no shortage of handsome men here. More importantly, the original owner left behind a vast fortune, over 80 million yuan. I didn't bring you here to suffer. I brought you here to enjoy. 80 million. The word struck me like lightning. All the dreams I once had to suppress in my previous life, all the moments of poverty where I had to count every single coin. Now all of it could change in the blink of an eye. I drew in a deep breath and slowly leaned back against the chair, my heart swelling with determination. Fine. If I've been given a second chance, I'll live for myself. I am not a puppet to be controlled by others, nor a pitiful wretch begging for mercy just to survive. In that instant, I knew the path I had chosen would never be easy, but at the very least this time I would be the one in control. And I would never again allow anyone, whether it be the male lead the system, or even this entire world, to strip me of who I am. Chapter 2. Choosing to indulge in a new life. My phone buzzed again. Another message appeared. In half an hour, come to the VIP room and apologize. Stop being so stubborn. I'm giving you one last chance. I let out a laugh and instantly blocked his number without a shred of hesitation. This time, I was no longer the weak Fang Miao he had once despised. If he thought I would keep kneeling and begging, he was about to be sorely disappointed. Sitting on the bed, I opened my bank account. The numbers dancing before my eyes nearly made me dizzy. 80 million. This wasn't a dream. No more scraping together rent money, no more counting every coin for food like in the past. I had truly stepped into another life. A surge of hot blood rushed to my head. Inside I shouted, if you have money and don't know how to enjoy it, what difference is there between you and a corpse? I shot up and looked at myself in the mirror. This body. I had to admit it was stunning. Smooth, pale skin, a slender waist, a sensual figure. Everything far surpassed the frail body I used to have. A smug smile tugged at my lips. This was the perfect chance to live recklessly, without fear of judgment. Without delay, I put on an icy, yet seductive, makeup look and slipped into a body-hugging red dress that accentuated every curve. When I stepped out tonight, I wanted the entire city to turn its head. I called the Platinum Club the most luxurious establishment in the city. The manager's polite voice came through the line. Miss May, I know your request? I curled my lips. The grandest VIP suite. And bring me the most handsome, most alluring men you have. I want a night worth remembering. There was a stunned silence on the other end, which quickly turned into enthusiastic compliance. Please, rest assured, miss, everything will be arranged. I snapped the phone shut, leaned back in my chair, and laughed aloud. A part of me knew this decision didn't sound like something a proper lady would make. But why should I be proper to a world that had thrown me into such a cruel game? From this moment on, I would live exactly as I pleased, spend money like water, indulge in luxuries I never even dared to dream of before, and most importantly, I would show those who once treated me like a toy that I was no longer their puppet. Tonight, I would begin my journey of owning this new life. Chapter 3 Clash. Twine with the green tea and their vile bet. The Platinum Club glittered with dazzling lights as I walked in. The music throbbed with energy, the scent of expensive perfume mingled with the rich aroma of liquor. Everything about this place was a stage for people desperate to show off. With my head held high, heels clicking against the floor, I felt as though the entire world parted to make way for me. But before I could step into the VIP room, a shrill voice cut through the noise. "Oh, isn't this Fang Miao? I thought you'd never dare show your face again." I halted. Standing in front of me was Zhang Yuan, the very definition of a green tea girl, sweet on the surface, scheming to the core. Beside her stood Huo Li, his arrogant smirk, practically screaming that the world belonged to him. Huo Li narrowed his eyes at me, his tone dripping with contempt. "So you finally learned your place and came crawling back. I told you going against me will never end well." I gave him a faint, dismissive smile, not even bothering to justify myself. But Zhang Yuan wasn't about to let me off so easily. She covered her mouth with a dainty hand, chuckling softly. "It's really not surprising. After all, she's nothing but a loyal little dog. No matter how stubborn, she'll come running back obediently in the end." Laughter burst out from Huo Li's friends. One of them even pulled out his phone, waving it around. "I win. Didn't I say she'd crawl back no matter how much she resisted?" "Pay up 10 grand now." For a second I froze, then I laughed. So they had actually turned me into the subject of a wager. To them, I was nothing more than a puppet for their amusement. Taking a steady breath, I locked my gaze on Huo Li and spoke clearly. "Do you really think I came here for you? Stop deluding yourself. I came here to have fun, to spend money, to live however I want. You don't flatter yourself." Huo Li's face darkened instantly, but before he could react, the club manager appeared with a polished smile. "Miss Fang, your VIP suite is ready, and as requested, the 8 most handsome gentlemen we have are waiting. Would you like to meet them now?" I turned, flashing a brilliant smile. "Perfect. Bring them all in." The hallway fell silent. Huo Li's friends gawked with their jaws dropped. Zhang Yuan froze stiff, and Huo Li clenched his fists so tight that veins bulged across his forehead. Without sparing them another glance, I strode proudly into the suite, my red dress sweeping the floor, leaving behind only their seething glares. For the first time, I felt truly free, and I swore from now on every game would be played by my rules. Chapter 4, When I Crushed His Arrogance. The VIP room pulsed with music, colorful lights swirling around. 8 men entered, each flashing a confident smile, each exuding a different allure, elegant, wild, rugged, youthful. They surrounded me like little stars, orbiting the sun. Raising my glass, I felt as if the entire atmosphere belonged solely to me. But the moment of joy didn't last long before the door burst open. Huo Li strode, and Zhang Yuan and a few others trailing behind him. His face was ice cold, his eyes blazing as though he wanted to burn me alive. "Fang Miao, what the hell are you doing?" he barked. I took a slow sip of champagne, not even bothering to look him in the eye. "Are you blind? I'm enjoying my life." Zhang Yuan jumped in, her tone feigning concern, though her gaze brimmed with mockery. "Sister Fang, do you really want to humiliate Li like this? For so many years he's endured you, and yet you—" I turned my head, a razor-sharp smile tugging at my lips. "Endured me. He treated me like a loyal dog, forcing me to do degrading things and calling it love. If that's what you call endurance, then I'd rather have none of it." Huo Li's face flushed crimson with rage. He stormed forward, reaching out to grab my wrist. But in that instant, I lifted my stiletto heel and drove it down with all my strength onto his foot. A strangled groan escaped his throat. His face twisted with pain, yet he still tried to keep his composure. I rose to my feet, leaned close to his ear, and whispered, "You want me to kneel and crawl back? Sorry." The obedient fang meow is dead. From now on, I live only for myself. Then I stepped back, raising my glass high, turning to his stunned friends. "You all want to bet on what I'll do next? Then watch carefully. I'll drink, I'll sing, I'll laugh with the men I choose. And you're nothing." The music swelled again. Laughter rippled through the room. I clinked glasses with the 8 men while Huo Li clutched his foot, his eyes burning with fury. And in that moment, I understood one truth. When a woman dares to step beyond fear, there are no chains strong enough to hold her. Chapter 5. The Man Who Stirred My Heart. I left the Platinum Club in a haze, not from the alcohol, but from the intoxicating thrill of finally living for myself. On the way to the parking lot, I wobbled slightly in my high heels, my phone still in hand. Suddenly, I collided with someone. The impact was so strong that my phone slipped from my grasp, crashing onto the ground, its screen shattering into pieces. I hadn't even managed to curse when my eyes met a gaze that froze me in place. The man before me was tall, his features sharp as though sculpted from stone, his aura cold and commanding, so different from the shallow men I had just left behind in the club. The overhead light cast a glow around him, making it feel as though I had stumbled straight into a god. My heart skipped wildly. A ridiculous thought flashed across my mind. If we had children, whose eyes would they inherit? Would they look more like him or more like me? I laughed at myself for the thought, then teased. "You broke my phone. To make up for it, you'll have to take me home." He didn't answer right away. He only stared at me in silence. That look made me restless. It was as though he could see straight through the layers of pretense in my words, yet there was also a cold probing edge to it. Stubbornly, I reached out and tugged at his tie, intending to pull his face closer for a better look. But he sidestepped smoothly, catching my hand instead. His voice was low and steady. "You certainly know how to cause trouble." Just one line, yet it sent shivers through me. It wasn't the cheap mockery I'd heard from Huo Li, nor the empty flattery from the men inside the club. It was the voice of someone who could command an entire room with nothing but a glance. I didn't know who he was, but one thing I was certain of: this man was no ordinary person. And deep down, my instincts whispered my new life had just turned to an entirely new chapter. Chapter 6. When his secret was revealed. The next morning, I woke up with a mild headache. The memory of the man from last night remained vivid in my mind. His cold gaze, that deep, husky voice, the aura that made it impossible to look away. Resting my chin in my hand, I wondered, who was he? Just then, the system's voice echoed in my head. "You really are easy to sway, but this time you've hit the jackpot. The man you met last night is none other than Guya, CEO of the Gu Corporation, one of the most powerful conglomerates in City A." I froze. CEO Gu Corporation. That name was anything but unfamiliar. Even before I transmigrated into this world, I had heard of it through financial reports. I frowned. Wait, a man that powerful? Why would he show up at the Platinum Club? The system gave a mocking chuckle. Because platinum is his underground asset. Guya doesn't come there to play like the other men. He comes to oversee business. Last night, you just happened to bump into him. A quiet laugh escaped me. So I hadn't merely stumbled upon a lucky, handsome stranger. I had collided with a man of monumental influence. Half curious, half hopeful, I asked, does he have a wife? A fiancé? Or at least some kind of relationship? No, the system replied firmly. No wife, no fiancé, no public romance. A man like him, clean in matters of the heart, yet holding immense power in his hands. What more could you want? I licked my lips, a wave of intrigue rising within me. This wasn't like the fleeting amusements at the club. This was a conquest, something real. Fine, I whispered. Guya, from this moment on, you are my target. Inside me, pride swelled with reckless ambition. I had once been the girl ridiculed, wagered upon, trampled beneath their feet. But from now on, I would prove one thing: whoever I set my eyes on, I would claim. Chapter 7. When Fang Miao's truth was exposed, I thought after the humiliation at the club, Huo Li would finally know his place and disappear from my life. But no, he still came looking for me, his face twisted with a mix of rage and fake heartbreak. So it's true. You went there just to find other men? His voice trembled as he forced himself to appear composed. I met his eyes and gave a cold smile. Huo Li, do you still not understand? I am no longer the Fang Miao you knew. The woman who once knelt down, who once endured every insane demand you threw at her. She's gone. She left this world to return to the man she truly loved. You were nothing but a test, a fleeting character in her story. His face froze, the color draining from it. He tried to argue, his voice choking. No, impossible. Miao Miao loved me. All these years she never left me, never refused a single thing I asked. I cut him off, my voice sharp as ice. You're wrong. What you mistook for love was nothing more than a mission. She had to complete 100 of your cruel demands just to earn the chance to return to the man she loved in her past life. Do you really think she endured all of that because she loved you? No. She was waiting for the day she could finally be free. His eyes grew bloodshot. Deep inside them, I saw panic, the raw terror of a child whose mask of lies had just been ripped away. He stammered, No, she was just shy, not good at showing affection. Yes, that must be it. I folded my arms, glaring at him with scorn. Tell me, did she ever say the words, I love you? Did she ever willingly embrace you, kiss you, or send you a tender message of her own accord? You know the answer. This time, silence. His clenched fists trembled, but he couldn't utter a single denial. The truth was undeniable. I exhaled, my tone steady and absolute. Wake up, Huo Li. Fang Miao never loved you, and I, the one standing before you now, certainly never will. I turned and walked away, leaving him frozen on the street, his eyes hollow, as though his entire world had just collapsed. But I knew this was only the beginning. A man as arrogant as Huo Li would never accept such a brutal truth so easily. The trouble he would bring was far from over. Chapter 8. When darkness began to close in, I thought that after the truth was exposed, Huo Li would finally retreat. But no, he began to grow dangerous in ways I never anticipated. At first it was strange calls from unknown numbers, threatening messages, the unsettling sense of eyes watching me whenever I stepped outside. I brushed it off, thinking he was just sulking, clinging to an illusion that had already shattered. But then, things escalated. One evening, just as I stepped out of the shopping mall, a black bag was suddenly thrown over my head. I was yanked violently into a car. Everything happened so fast that I had no time to resist. When the bag was finally ripped away, I found myself in a dim underground chamber, flickering candlelight, casting eerie shadows, a strange acrid scent filling my nose. And standing before me was Huo Li. His face was gaunt, his eyes bloodshot, deranged like a madman. He dropped to his knees, gazing at me with a look both desperate and crazed. Meow, meow. I know you haven't come back yet. But as long as I keep this body, you will. I found someone they'll call your soul back. A cold laugh escaped me, even as fear coiled in my chest. You're insane, Huo Li. Fang Miao is gone and she will never return. You're clinging to an empty shell, turning yourself into nothing more than a joke. He shook his head, laughing darkly, his voice cracking with madness. No, you'll come back. You love me, you've only left temporarily. I'll call you back no matter the cost. At that moment, a figure emerged wearing a bone mask, holding a strange wooden staff, muttering incantations in a guttural foreign tongue. The circle of candles around me flared higher, illuminating dark streaks of blood smeared across the floor. A chill shot down my spine. Huoli had truly gone mad enough to seek out some occult ritual to drag Fang Miao back from the dead. And I knew then, from this moment on, this was no longer just about revenge or freedom. This was a fight for survival between me, the one now in control of this body, and a man driven to madness, willing to destroy everything for the sake of a delusion he called love. Chapter 9. When Guye appeared amid the darkness. The candles around me blazed higher, the sound of iron bells and the bone-masked man's incantations echoing through the damp underground chamber. Goosebumps prickled over my skin, my body tugged by an unseen force. Huoli knelt right before me, his bloodshot eyes wild, his trembling hand reaching for mine. Meow, meow, you'll come back. I've prepared everything. Stop resisting. Return to me. I let out a laugh, the sound cutting coldly through the air. You've gone insane, Huoli. Fang Miao will never return. The only one here is me, and I have never belonged to you. He gritted his teeth, but before he could reply, a thunderous crash resounded. The iron door of the chamber was kicked open. Blinding light spilled inside, and standing in that light, I saw Guye. He strode in with a line of black-clad bodyguards at his back. Just one icy glance from him was enough to send Huoli's men stumbling backward in fear. Let her go. Guye's voice rang out sharp as a blade. Huoli sprang to his feet, shielding me like a cornered beast, his roar cracking with madness. She's mine. No one can take her from me. Stay out of this. Guye's lips curled into a cold smirk, his gaze so frigid it froze the air itself. Yours, a woman, is a person, not an object. You bound her with humiliation, control, and delusions. But you forgot the most important truth. She never loved you. I looked at Guye then, and something stirred deep within me, a feeling I had never known before. Safety, strength, a presence that made me want to trust. Huoli screamed and lunged at me like a madman. But before he could even touch me, Guye's kick sent him crashing to the ground. Bones thudding harshly against the stone floor. Guye came straight to me, untying the ropes around my wrists and pulling me firmly into his arms. His voice dropped low, gentle, yet steady enough to shake my heart. Don't be afraid. I'm here now. From this moment on, no one will ever harm you again. In that instant, tears slipped down my cheeks without me even realizing. For the first time in years, I truly felt protected. And in those arms I knew my fate had shifted onto an entirely different path. Chapter 10. When justice and power spoke after Guye pulled me out of that dark chamber, we were escorted straight to the car. I was still trembling, but his hand held mine firmly, warm and steady. Behind us, Huoli was pinned down by Guye's bodyguards. He thrashed like a wild beast, screaming at the top of his lungs. Meow, meow, you can't leave me. You're mine. You belong to me for life. I turned my head, staring straight into his bloodshot eyes, and for the first time ever, I felt no fear. Only disdain. Huoli, you're nothing but an addict. Addicted to control, addicted to the delusion that I loved you. But remember, this Fang Miao never loved you. And I never will. Guye gave my hand a gentle squeeze, affirming the truth I had just spoken. He turned to his men, his tone crisp and commanding. Hand him over to the police. Kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, assault more than enough for him to pay the price. In that instant, I saw Huoli's face pale. For the first time, it seemed he realized that his so-called power could not shield him from justice. His cronies lowered their heads, none of them daring to speak. On the way out, Guye said quietly, I've been keeping an eye on this for a while. Huoli didn't just hurt you, he's harmed many others. He thought he was above the law. But today it ends. I was silent for a moment before whispering, Thank you. If it weren't for you, I might never have escaped. Guye tilted his head to look at me, his eyes deep yet gentle. You don't need to thank me. Just remember, from now on, you're not alone. At those words, my heart trembled. In his gaze, I saw something I had never seen in anyone else's before. Not possession, not control, but respect. And in that moment, I knew for the first time, after so many dark days, I had the right to believe in a new beginning. Chapter 11, The End of a Madman and the Beginning of Me. A few weeks later, I received the news Huo Li had been officially prosecuted. His crimes extended far beyond kidnapping police, uncovered scandal after scandal, shady dealings, secret accounts. Everything came spilling into the light. The once arrogant Huo family now had to bow their heads, for there was no one left to shield him. On the day of the trial, I did not go. I had no need to witness the face of his downfall, because in my heart Huo Li had already died long ago. To me, my silence, my complete indifference, was the cruelest sentence he could ever receive. As for me, I began again from zero, but it was the zero of a free woman. Every morning I could choose what I wanted to eat, wear what I felt beautiful in, and live each day as I pleased. No more voices commanding me. No more eyes watching me with control. And Guya, he stayed by my side. Not as a man wielding power, but as someone who knew how to listen. He didn't try to change me, didn't try to dictate how I should live. He simply stood there, steady watching, as I rediscovered who I truly was. One time I asked him, "Why did you choose me? I was once a life filled with cracks far from perfect." He only smiled and took my hand. "Because you are you. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be real. That's enough." In that moment, I understood what I needed had never been some grand love or lavish promises. What I needed was simply someone who could see me completely as I truly am. I remembered the last words Huo Li had screamed in his madness, "You will never leave me." But he was wrong. I had left. And not only had I left, I had stepped into a place 1,000 times better. My story did not end with screams of vengeance or a fiery spectacle of revenge. It ended with peace in my heart when I finally realized I never needed to be enough for anyone. I only needed to be enough for myself, and that was the sweetest revenge of all. After everything I've learned, one thing: you don't need to be enough for anyone else. You only need to be enough for yourself. Because when you dare to step beyond fear, the world will open new doors. That's how I found freedom, and the man who truly saw me. And what about you? What was the moment that made you realize your true worth? Share it in the comments. I want to hear your story. If you love journeys of strength, of justice, and of sweet revenge, don't forget to like and subscribe to Scarlet Vows. Because here, every story isn't just one to listen to, it's a place where you just might find a piece of yourself within it.